Hi, I'm Cathy Davis, Davis Creative Publishing, and welcome to in our Inspiring Authors Conversations. Today we'll be speaking with Rubin Wilkins. Let me start again. Rachel Rubin Wilkins. I should have practiced that one. Uh, she is has an international business degree in marketing, French, and sociology from the University of Missouri, Columbia. She's a foreign language certificate from the University of something French, University de Grenoble,
It's close. Very good.
pretty close in
Yes,
France.
yeah.
And I recognize the France part. And she earned her Executive MBA from Washington University in St. Louis. She holds a certification in the social cognitive career theory and from the National Science Foundation, where she's also an adjunct professor on the topic. She's a champion for career education, mentoring, and building communities. Our topic today is going to be the power of mentoring as a tool for marketing and growing your business. And I see we have many authors on today and many aspiring authors also. So help me welcome Rachel. Thanks for being here today.
Well, thank you for having me. It's an honor. And as we close out the 2024 year, I'm just thankful to be here with all these awesome leaders in the
We've got,
community.
yeah, quite a powerhouse of people today. So how did you get involved originally in mentoring? What was the appeal?
I think it's something innate inside of me. I always love to help people. It probably started in high school. I was involved in a lot of co-curricular, extracurricular activities, very involved in sports and mentoring to build our teams, trying to recruit different students to come and join us. I think one profound piece, I was chosen my senior year to work on a diversity committee as we were integrating students into the school. And they chose 7 students to represent and go through training. And the results were amazing. One-on-one relationships were very rewarding. And it allowed me to take myself out of my high school and look at people from other backgrounds and really make a difference. So that's where it started in high school.
And here comes the ultimate St. Louis question, although I know you're not from St. Louis. Where did you go to high school?
Oh, Kathy. I went to Eureka High School
Oh, you were here in
out
St.
west.
Louis.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I was here in St. Louis. I will tell you, after being a military spouse for 20 years, when we came back and that question became one of the first questions, I thought, wow, really? I've lived in Europe. I've
Yeah.
lived in 8 to 10 different states in the United States. Does it matter? But it does, it matters as it's a talking point because the next question is, oh, do you know my cousin that went
Yeah.
to school XYZ? So um, I've grown accustomed to answering the question, but I see how
But
sometimes I
I
can.
actually I was surprised because somehow in my head I thought it was Colorado. Maybe you had just lived out there at one point, but somewhere in our many conversations I thought I had
I
heard
have
about
a daughter. I
Colorado.
have 2 kids there. So
Yeah,
I've got 2 kids there. I
that's
have a
how I
daughter.
heard. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I'm interested in being a mentor or a mentee, how does one step into that role? Where do I start?
Mhm. Well, actually, it's an easy process. And I think in our day-to-day lives, we naturally act as mentors and mentees and we don't know it. In saying that, I think maybe we are not aware that there are 3 different levels of mentoring, and one of them is silent mentoring. And so, for those that might be interested in authoring a book or have led, I know Buff has led in multiple spaces. I'm sure there have been people that she led that may not know her on a personal level. And the mentoring I'm talking about is called silent mentoring. These are people that you might be role modeling after or admiring, watching, listening to. This could be, Taylor Swift, if you're into music. This could be Bing Crosby with the holiday season right now. That could be someone you're thinking about is, wow, what a legend. So there are a lot of different ways we can mentor from others, and silent mentoring is one. The traditional mentor is that senior mentor that you think, oh, that person is so far advanced in their career or that service project. That's the person that I'm following. And then we have a peer-to-peer or friend-tor, we're calling it friend-tor right now, who is someone who's probably within 2 to 5 years. of your age, and you turn to them for maybe some day-to-day information, suggestions, and help, or maybe someone in your workplace that is closer to your age.
No, that's so. How did you find your first mentor?
Well, that was probably in college. And I would say the most profound, my first mentor, I've had a lot of little mentors. It's really trying to problem solve for yourself. If you see someone ahead of you and they're very successful, I'm always interested. How did they get there? What did they do?
Mhm.
What was their ambition and passion? And so I'd just start asking questions, and then naturally a mentoring relationship could form.
Well, even as I look back at my own high school years, there were teachers that I could go to and I'd stay late after class and just kind of hang out and ask questions. That would have been a mentoring relationship that I didn't even know then that that's what was.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think we haven't really labeled too much in our world how many times we've used mentoring.
Mm.
Really, they're relationships, everyday relationships where you have the courage to go to someone and, like you said, stay after class for a minute and just ask a few questions.
Mhm.
And I think maybe we don't recognize how important that one-off question is from someone who's eagerly trying to get information. And so I'm trying to shine a light on mentoring as how important this is for us as people building relationships and really connecting with that next generation of leaders so that they feel acknowledged and supported.
So, how can we take the concept of being a mentee or a mentor and relate that to our marketing, whether it's a book or a process or a service that we offer?
Yeah, I think that's it's probably self-explanatory in that um, there are different ways you can use a mentor when you're doing your marketing. Some mentors you might go to as they had excellent marketing campaigns and you want to emulate that. Maybe there's an author ahead of you that has run an amazing campaign. Maybe it's coming to someone like yourself, Cathy, who has countless best-selling, international best-selling books. That is a benefit to your exceptional marketing. So going to the publisher, possibly going to an author and asking for support. It can also be not talking to somebody in that field and asking an outsider, hey, how do you feel about this message? And so doing some pilot test on others who might be around it but not involved in it to give you a different perspective.
Well, and it also occurs to me a lot of times we talk about, especially with our authors, who can they reach out to that may have a similar target audience that they do? And as I'm looking at the group that's here today, we have a couple of children's books authors and children's book audiences, people who buy children's books, always are looking for other new children books to buy. And that right there might be a good way. It's kind of a more of a marketing
Mhm.
relationship in helping to share each other's information about each other's books. But that could also be a mentoring type of relationship.
Mhm. Yes, absolutely. And it's kind of connected. Sales is marketing, right? And marketing is sales. And I know some people don't want to call sales sales because it's not a great word, but actually we're selling all the time. We're selling ideas. If you're a parent, you're negotiating with your kids. And so it's really just being open enough to accept that I have questions. I want my book to thrive, reaching out to others and trying to find the best ways to make a powerful impact with the book that you're trying to land and marketing in the many spaces of marketing are how you do that. Now, again, I think it's also watching your peer-to-peer relationships, those that have done it and have quickly been successful, and those are some of the best resources we have to move forward.
There's a couple of networking groups here in St. Louis who actually have like an author's moment
Hmm.
in part of their schedule for that day, and where they'll invite other authors in, and you have 3 to 5 minutes to talk about your book or however long they give you. And it occurs to me that would, as people are out there networking, if you're going to a networking event and then perhaps that group doesn't offer that, that could be a good suggestion for you to say, hey,
Yeah.
what can we do an author's minute or an author's moment?
Yes. And obviously when you're perhaps presenting. So the last book that I was in, I created some opportunities to share what my chapter was, and that opportunity was a marketing opportunity as well. So marketing your book and your workshops and presentations, that helps. And then if you have friends who are mentors who might have access to a group they want to share your story with, that's another way to benefit from resources your mentor can provide.
One of the things that we do for our authors, if any of our authors on today's call have been to any of our events, we pass out these little buttons that they can wear that
Yes.
say, "Ask me about my book." And so it's a great way. You just got to keep them in your pocket and wear them like your name tag. And I tell people, even wear them in the grocery line, wear them when you go shopping so that people can see these and ask you about your book. Because the big part about marketing your book and using those and getting the word out there is letting people know about your book. So if I'm in a mentoring situation, or if how can we tie this book and mentoring and marketing kind of into one piece to have it make sense for us?
hmm So that kind of falls in the lines of ambassadorship, right? So be an ambassador for each other, sharing the good news and the information that we want to share. Taking mentoring, sometimes people think of mentoring as, oh, it's a top down, I'm telling this person and advising this person, but it also can be coming out into a strategy of ambassadorship. Not only there's like a sponsor, we have that word sponsor, someone in your workspace who might be elevating you to the next level. So mentoring is also being a sponsor for someone and sharing what they have going on. So a wonderful opportunity would be to share if you're mentoring someone and they have something coming, you can support them by sharing what it is they're doing. Hey, my mentee has just written this great book. Let's host a book talk, or let's,
Mhm.
have a workshop where we can sell her book. So the support, as a mentee, asking, you might want to ask, are there ways that you feel you could support me that would help me market my book? And then you can brainstorm on ways to take it to the next level. And most of the time, people are generous and they want to support each other. It's an exciting time. And the anthologies that you have, they just compound all the excitement, and it just is a ripple effect throughout the community.
Well, it occurs to me also, if you're in these networking groups of any sort, whether it's your local chamber or a more organized specifically for networking organization, you can simply ask the question, "Have you written a book?" And then wait and see what they say. And then and if it's a no, you could always say, "Well, I've written a book and I could tell you a little bit about it." And then all at once that puts you in the mentor role
Yeah.
and allows them to ask you questions, and not to be pushy, and you don't want to control the conversation, but put them in a position, ask them first, but then put them in a position to where they're asking you, and all at once they're now the mentee and you're the mentor when it comes to writing your book.
Yeah. Sharing, you have to share, you have to talk, right? You have to share what it is you're doing, and don't be afraid to do that. I think a lot of people do want to learn. And so sharing tips and tricks really help people advance with their goals.
Now, from a professional perspective, um, is mentoring necessarily something that's typically only available in like big corporations, or the larger end of the small business spectrum? Or is this something that organizations can, whether it's a networking group or a chamber or perhaps someone's church, wherever they go, whatever nonprofits even, is mentoring a tool that they can use in that kind of an atmosphere?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I think everyone in here is a mentor, and you probably don't, maybe you don't recognize yourself as one, but I think you are. And I think everyone has the potential to mentor. There are structured, organized mentoring programs within organizations.
Mhm.
I've been searching for something universal. Harvard used to have a certification, they don't have one anymore. People don't get paid to mentor, it's a service, and there aren't any certifications. So I'm trying to develop something actually that can solve that. and be more universal because there's not really any guidelines to mentoring, what it is or what it isn't. And that's one of the reasons why I'm passionate about the anthology that we're working on, which is the Lead, Lift, and Leave a Legacy. The first anthology is Lead for Women, and it's the Leadership Mission, where women are sharing and casting a light on their career paths to shine and show a way for our peer-to-peer mentors, our silent mentors, and women that might be younger trying to figure out where do I want to go and how did women survive their careers with children, adding, degree programs, and how did they become successful? So casting a light on that shows a path forward so that women can relate and our younger generation of women can be empowered by what other women have encountered. The book also goes from ages 20, I have writers in their 20s, all the way into their 80s. So every decade is represented, and it's a historical timeline of women just moving through roadblocks and, just being accomplished and successful. So that could be an option. The book that I have gives the authors mentoring opportunities through a QR code. And that's one thing that I'm doing on a small scale that hopefully can have a ripple effect of even larger. But there are nonprofits. So the Girls on the Run needs mentors for running to build confidence. So you could join local organizations here in the region, in St. Louis region. Girls on the Run is national. So wherever you are, in whatever city, you can coach and help women there. There are so many groups. St. Louis, I think, is one of the number one leading women, female entrepreneur cities in the nation. And that's on
Do
both
that,
for-profit
yeah.
and nonprofit. And there are lists. I thought about Googling that before this to say these are different organizations that you could join
Mhm.
or start your own. It seems like that's a trendy thing too. But those are just some suggestions.
And that's always a list that we can send out later to this group. And I probably should have asked this earlier, if you were to condense a definition of what a mentor is into one sentence, what would that sentence be?
Wow, that is awesome. We are working on a survey right now that asks students from 4 different schools what their definition of mentoring is.
Uh,
So I just read that last night and it'll be incorporated. Our results and statistics from this survey will go into the book. But I was curious, what does the younger generation think of what mentoring is?
mhm,
And I would say the key components are uh, the definitions were uh, someone to provide guidance and advice that is professionally advanced from where you are in your career.
mhm,
Someone you turn to for advice, someone who's there for encouragement over and over and over. I could probably pull that up and read that to you.
mhm.
So I'm redefining my perspective on what mentoring is, just from that new age
Yeah.
terminology. And I'll list that in the book as what our younger generation is expecting from mentors.
Can you be a mentor and a mentee at the same time?
Yes. Yes, you can. Absolutely. There's a term that I'm calling, and somebody else has probably already defined this, but I'm calling it mentoring up or reverse mentoring. So the relationship is, the mentor is supporting you in the areas that you need, but as the mentee, you might be providing information to the mentor that is new, valuable, and possibly something you hadn't thought about. So I call that reverse mentoring, because I think, well, for me, I am really into team dynamics. I like to hear back. I like to get input. I like to make decisions, but I also like to be well-rounded in my decisions. And I think that comes from when you have multiple conversations with different people to come at leadership from all angles.
Hmm.
I have a leadership project right now for fellows. I have 5 fellows. So all along this program that I'm launching and the anthology, I'm getting their feedback. And so I'll say, hey, this is the pitch. This is what I'm doing here. This is what I'm doing here. Chew it up. Tell me what's wrong with it. And they reverse mentor me and say, well, that's not what 20-year-olds say. Or, they'll give me some really good feedback and say, well, I think it would be better if you took this angle. So I take their information and use that. I let them create the survey. I gave them guidelines, and then we did a team gathering and had all the ideas put out. and then I let them write the survey. So I think we can learn a lot from other generations as we mentor, and then they mentor us.
So it almost reminds me of, the big brother, big sister kind of model where, but it perhaps is for business or growing your business or whatever it is that you're, if you're working for another company or if you have your own.
Yeah, and not every organization wants that. I think because I've been a recruiter and worked in a technology space for about 4 years, technology organizations actually like the new words, like the new terminologies, ideas, thought processes, and solutioning. But I don't know that that's the same everywhere.
Mhm. So is there at a point where you can have more than one mentor at a time,
Yes,
perhaps for different parts
absolutely.
of your life? Yeah.
Yes. And so I think, again, this seems to me slightly common sense. Um, there's a class that I teach called Recognize the Stars in Your Constellations,
Hmm.
and constellations being the groups that you're organized in. So it could be I participate in a church group, I'm in a running group, I'm in a book study, I have my work. So your constellations are the different places that you spend your time. Could be your family could be a constellation. And the stars are the people, the mentors that are in those constellations that are shining a light for you to ask questions, um, to build your brand, whatever your goals are in that
Hmm.
constellation. So, yes, you can have multiple, and I highly suggest. I have probably 7 mentors in different spaces that I go to for different reasons, and I highly suggest that.
And so how did you find those mentors?
Well, through networking. So, different stages of my life have yielded different results. Um, At first, when I married my husband, who was a commissioned Army officer, we were going to spend 4 years in the Army. We liked it a little too much and then ended up staying 20. So that was a lifestyle where you needed a mentor. We moved, he was a Special Operations Ranger Unit, deployed over 10 times. I would not have survived without the military's spouse support network to mentor me.
Hmm.
And that's where I first realized that this is not first, but how crucial it is to have the right people there helping you land, make decisions so that you can be efficient and get your family grounded. So that's one of the reasons. Um, I think I think I'm off the question just a little bit because I
No,
just went
no, I
back in
think that
time.
I was following you, but it kind of reminded me of even in another modern day example of we have neighbors 2 or 3 doors down who have decided to retire to Costa Rica. And there are expats living in Costa Rica who
Mm,
now offer their services for a price, a reasonable price, for other people from the US to come down and they act as escorts, perhaps mentors, just, there's I've learned so much about Costa Rica just in the last maybe 6 months just from this family because they learn, there's different weather, tropical all the way up in the mountains to rainy rainforest and then on the beaches it's very dry and arid and like 7 different climates. And so they, took a trip down there and they met this person and hired this person to show them around the island. They'd been there on vacation before, but I realize now it's a very similar type of situation where somebody knows a little bit more about what it is and they're sharing that information with you
yeah.
and it allows you to be able to make better decisions.
Yes. Yep. And I think that is a service, right? I mean, I guess they're paying for that, but in the
Mhm.
military, it was just what you did for your fellow community members. And that was just a service. No one had to do any of that to ease that situation for us as we transitioned. Here in St. Louis, I started we started over after 20 years coming back to St. Louis,
Mhm.
and we went back for our education. My husband and I decided to go to the Executive MBA program at WashU, and that's where we really started networking again. I built my LinkedIn profile, which I'm laughing because networking is extremely important. And at the time, I thought, well, I have a network. What do I need a network for? My husband's like, no, you're going to make a LinkedIn. And I said, honey, I don't think I can get 100 people. Well, just yesterday, my LinkedIn profile hit 5,000 for the
Wow.
first time.
Wow.
So, I've come a long way. That's
Hmm.
1,000 a year. I guess that's almost 1,000 a year. But networking really results in quality relationships. And this is where I'm going to talk about Jamie Nunnally, who's on the call, because I met her through networking and through a local women's group. And she has become a very good friend. And she is a prime example of my closest peer-to-peer mentoring relationship that has a significant value for me because she had been watching me start my new business. I hadn't done the LLC. I had a B project that ended up being very successful and ended up getting contracts immediately without even having my LLC formalized. And we had a quick call because she's an experienced businesswoman. And she said, Rachel, you need to do this. And she's just like knocked it out, bullet points. And I thought, oh my gosh, she just really said the right things at the right time. And within a week, I was officially in the process and moving forward with great confidence. So thanks, Jamie, for your support as a peer-to-peer mentor.
Well, and I was going to open it up. Willie is giving a shout out to you in the chat. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, I can't. Yeah.
Thanking you and your husband for your service.
Oh, thank
Willie
you.
is Willie's retired service, and I know we have some other service people on the call, but I wanted to ask if anybody would like to share any of your own mentorship stories, whether you've been a mentor or a mentee. And even if you are a human and you might have a four-legged fur baby, who who is your mentee in your home, essentially. If you have any stories you'd like to share, raise your hand or just unmute yourself. We'd love to hear from you on mentorship. Maybe not today, and that's okay. If you change your mind,
Let him marinate. Give him a minute.
yeah. If you
No,
change
I
your
was going to say
mind,
that.
hi, Willie.
Hey, how you doing, Cathy? Yeah, I was a mentor to many people in the military. I spent 24 years in it. Some were reluctant to accept my advice on the things I was trying to help them, but it was rewarding to find people that actually went through the things I tried to help them with and was able to come back to me and say and thank me for the things that
Mhm.
I did, the efforts that I put into their lives, their military careers.
Well, and I think we
And
all
you
can
raised
probably think back to someone who, like a teacher
Mhm.
or someone that we reported to, that we actually learned something from, not realizing it was a mentee or mentor relationship.
And I
Yeah.
think that's why I'm so passionate about this because my first job in working for the University of Missouri Columbia as a recruiter, I had a phenomenal boss. I aligned with all of her strategies. It was very seamless. My team was amazing, the most amazing team and structure I'd ever been on, and I took it for granted. So when I left, I kept looking for that and I didn't really find it again. And I think sometimes we're in the midst of our lives and we just expect it to be the way that it is. And then she passed away before I was able to thank her for everything that she had done in my life to be a guiding light. And so I think sometimes we get so busy, we don't take the time out to say, hey, thank you, show some gratitude. We just get busy. So that's another part of the book that's a feature is showing gratitude. The women are writing about mentors that helped them along the way. And when we show gratitude, we have feelings of happiness, and then that happiness goes to joy. So hopefully we can change relationships and increase happiness one story at a time.
Oh, I love that. Thank you, Willie, for sharing that. And again, if you have anything else that you'd like to share, feel free just to unmute yourself, raise your hand. We'd be happy to pull you in. So tell us a little bit more about the Lead, Lift, and Leave a Legacy book that you're working on and pulling people together for.
Yeah, so
What
right now,
prompted you to want to pull
what
this
prompted
together?
me?
Yeah.
Well, it started with the social cognitive career class certification that I took. My daughter and I were in the class together. It was basically at the tail end of COVID, so it was virtual. And it was very interesting to me because it talks about how your social cognitive in your career, how the science piece of sociology has a huge impact on your success. So there's a lot of mental health conversations. There's a lot of things going on in our communities that people hadn't talked about before. And the fact that the National Science Foundation knows people think of it as engineering and math and the true STEM, they've added the social science and sociology as a piece that's important component to our education and to our well-being. So after the class, I asked the professor, this was amazing. I loved what I learned. What can I do? What's the next class? And he said, actually, I can't teach the next class. Can you teach it? And I said, well, okay, sure. All right. So I taught the next class and had students. And when you are the teacher versus the student, you do see things a lot differently. So there are a lot more conversations that were deeper, um, students that were concerned about their careers, just a lot of things going on, which had me take a deep dive in some research to find statistics on some depression. And uh, one of the causes of depression is aloneness or being lonely. And to me, one of those things, if you're in that situation, maybe unity and your community having powerful relationships can pull you out of that one step at a time. So then I thought, okay, let's do this recognize the stars in your constellations workshop. Let's take it another piece forward. And then Cathy, you and I had some conversations which made me realize that the idea of just capturing what I did in the workshop could be more. It could be an anthology where women are showing how they've been successful through life, and then they can reach out to other women and share their journey. So there's a lot of synergies around this, and there's already a tremendous ripple effect. We have about 20 women signed up and ready to go that we're working with, and I still have room for more, but I am excited about the women. Jamie Nunnally is the first one in my book, so she was the first to say yes.
Well, and one of the things that I've noticed with these books where we create a collection of essays written by 30 to 40 different people on a single topic is they have shown every one of them serves to bring hope to whatever community that it reaches. And those are the two things that consistently, and I used to think it was just a post-COVID thing, but it's still hanging out. People are consistently looking for hope in community. And that these books have a tendency to do that because you read these short stories, whether you're, taking a short flight somewhere or you're just taking time out of your day to sit down and read a single story. And it allows you to take that moment where, you're in your, I call it like little imaginary egg chair, because you kind of blocked out the rest of the world and you're reading this one chapter. And I've had so many authors or readers over the years that have read these chapters that go, it made me feel like I wasn't alone. I now feel like I'm not the only one that feels like that. And there will be one chapter in one of these books that will strike someone that way. And I'm always amazed by it. And then the authors get these responses back. And it's always fun to feel like you've touched somebody. You've made their day better.
Yes, I agree. And sometimes that's the whole, one of the highest areas of depression was loneliness or being alone. And that's what these chapters do. They allow for a sense of that community. With this particular book, in the QR code at the end of each author's story, there's an opportunity for additional mentorship to reach out to the author. So that's another component that's an opportunity that will allow for a little step further in that relationship. So we'll see. I'm excited. We have a lot of positive synergies around it, and I'm just very thankful for your support during this time, Cathy. It's been awesome.
Well, and I was going to make sure everybody knew that when we send out your contact information, in case they want to get in touch with you about our topic today, that we'll include information about the book and how they can find more information out about that if they are thinking about participating or just want more information.
Yeah.
And, remind me again, end of March, early March for the launch.
First week of March.
Yeah.
First week of March.
Yeah.
March 4th.
And so there's still time if you're on the fence thinking about writing, perhaps you could write a chapter. And that's one of the things that these books do on their own is they create a new community. And we've seen that happen over and over. So it's a great way to make new friends too. So if
And we
you were
have,
to,
oh, go ahead. I was gonna say we have two authors on the call, which was Jamie and Kate.
yep,
So
yeah, raise your hands, Jamie and Kate. Yeah. Dance hands. There we go. Yeah. Awesome. And then you're actually already talking about a second version that would be a co-ed version, as I recall. So
Yes.
it's not that we're trying to eliminate men, it's just that you have different books for different sections of that.
Yes. Yeah, it's not the reason I jumped into the leadership mission first was because I'm involved in a lot of women's groups and the topic just kept popping up
Yeah.
everywhere I went. And so I just said, this is a hot issue right now, a pain point I want to solve. I have 5 children and their ages are 20 to 26. Kate is one. Um, she is my second born. Um, and my kids are in their 20s to 26. And so I feel like this book is also there for them. I'm doing this to help that next generation.
Mhm.
I know I was, back when I was trying to decide on my degree, I had a hard time trying to figure it out. I had so many interests, but I didn't have enough people in front of me to understand their career to say, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping this book will also help other women either maybe having a pivot or just trying to figure out in their 20s which direction they're going to go and start setting some goals. And also knowing that if you set a goal and you change it, it's okay because a
Yeah.
lot of women have pivoted away from different things. And it takes, I mean, I'm not doing what I thought I was going to do, and I love what I'm doing. So, those pivots happen for a reason and know that there's faith and you're not alone when you see other women doing that too.
And this may be redundant here, but do you have any last words of wisdom for the group that when it comes to mentoring and mentorship, we've talked a broad perspective of it today and how it can be used to get you to that next level, that goal that you want to obtain. Any last words of wisdom for the group today?
Yeah, just don't underestimate yourself. I think everyone has a gift. I think everyone can be a mentor. And
Mhm.
I think believe in yourself that you have the ability to help someone else. Don't expect to be perfect. I think that reign of perfectionism is dying. I think it's more important to show your authentic self and give the best that you can to people. If someone comes to you for a question and you don't have the answer, maybe have them reach out to someone you know that would have the answer.
Yeah.
The important piece is to just believe in the beauty of relationships. I know some people have had some bad mentoring experiences, but you're just going to have to throw those in the past and keep moving forward because there are a lot of positive people out there wanting to build quality relationships.
No. And Buff just mentioned in the chat that she's benefited greatly in her Air Force career among the women in aviation and service community. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. I was just with a friend last night whose mom was one of the first, my friend who turned 76 last night. Her mom was one of the first women aviators, and she has a photo in her living room of my friend is about 5 years old, sitting on the wing of her mom's plane, and she was one of the first ones to fly. So it was a goosebump moment to see that photo. But I greatly appreciate your knowledge on this topic and giving us new insight on a new way to broaden our community. And Buff, I'll get you that information on what her mom's name was, because she's also doing some additional research on that. And her name is Beverly Berner. Some of you may or may not know Bev. She's retired now, but a friend that used to be that I've known since I was in corporate. And save the date for January. We don't want to forget January. And January 9th, we'll be talking with Mish Hancock. She's our local TEDx expert, and our topic is your TEDx talk ready? I'm sorry, we'll start over on that. Is your TEDx idea ready to pitch? That's Thursday, January 9th, same time, 11:30. And she's always looking for new TEDx talkers. I guess it's a good way. I don't know what to call them. Well, I think we call them speakers actually in a more
Speakers.
formal vein. But TEDx Talk speakers, there we go. So make sure you have that on your calendar. You will receive a follow-up email that has Rachel's contact information and how to reach out to her. I greatly appreciate you all being here today, and we'll enjoy your holidays, whatever you're celebrating, and we'll see you in January. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Rachel, so much for being here.
Thank you, Kathy, and thank you for
Uh-huh.
everyone who attended. Happy holidays.
Thank
Reach
you.
out if
Y'all
you
Bye-bye.
need
good,
anything.
everybody.
I'm here.
Okay.
Bye-bye.